Imagine walking beneath the Las Vegas Strip right now. Not through the casino lobbies, but 30 feet below all of it. Down here, concrete tunnels stretch for hundreds of miles beneath the slot machines and wedding chapels. And inside those tunnels, people have built actual homes. Carpet on the floors, furniture pulled from casino dumpsters, electricity rigged from salvaged wiring. But these tunnels were not designed for living. They were designed to move floodwater, water that can rise several feet in under 10 minutes and sweep away everything in its path. This is how 1,500 people survive down here anyway. Las Vegas was built in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and while most people picture endless sunshine, the desert actually gets hit with sudden, violent monsoon storms during the summer months. When those storms come, the water has nowhere to go. There is no soil to absorb it. The ground is rock and sand and pavement. So, back in the 1990s, the Clark County Regional Flood Control District started building an enormous network of concrete storm channels beneath the valley. Today, that system includes over 600 miles of tunnels and drainage channels crisscrossing under Las Vegas. Some of the tunnels are just a few feet wide. Others are massive, 15 feet across, tall enough to stand up in, and they stretch for miles beneath the city's busiest corridors. When it rains, water rushes through these tunnels and eventually empties into Lake Mead. But during the dry months, which in Las Vegas is most of the year, these tunnels sit completely empty. And that's where the residents come in. Estimates from outreach organizations like the Shine a Light Foundation put the underground population at around 1,500 people. Men, women, and in some cases children. Former casino workers who lost their jobs. People struggling with addiction. Veterans who came back from deployments and couldn't find their footing. Folks who simply fell behind on rent in a city where housing costs have skyrocketed over the past decade. Right beneath the most expensive real estate in Nevada, there's an entire hidden neighborhood. Above them, tourists are spending $400 a night on hotel rooms. Down below, people are building shelters out of materials those same hotels threw away. And somehow, they've figured out how to make it work. But these aren't people just curling up on bare concrete. The level of ingenuity involved in building these shelters is something you have to see to believe. Remember, these tunnels fill with floodwater that's been clocked at 30 miles per hour. Flash floods have killed people down here. So the first thing experienced residents do is find a section that's above the main water line. This is critical. When it rains in Las Vegas, the water level inside these tunnels can rise several feet in under 10 minutes. That's fast enough to sweep away everything in its path, including people. So the more experienced residents set up camp in elevated alcoves, side chambers, or on raised platforms built from wooden pallets and salvaged bed frames. Some build their sleeping areas on concrete ledges that sit 2 or 3 feet above the tunnel floor. High enough to stay dry during a moderate storm, not high enough if a real flood comes through. But that's a risk they live with every single day. Getting the elevation right is literally the difference between waking up dry and not waking up at all. And once you've solved the water problem, you've still got moisture to deal with. Even when it's not raining, these concrete tunnels collect condensation. The air underground is cooler than the desert surface, and that temperature difference creates damp walls and wet floors, especially overnight. Left unchecked, that moisture soaks through clothing, rots mattresses, and makes everything feel colder than it actually is. Residents deal with this by laying down heavy plastic sheeting or tarps as a ground layer. On top of that goes cardboard, sometimes 5 or 6 layers thick. Cardboard is one of the most effective low-cost insulating materials you can find. It traps air between its corrugated layers, which slows heat transfer and creates a real barrier between the cold concrete and whatever is above it. Most people would never think twice about a sheet of cardboard, but underground, it's one of the most valuable building materials there is. On top of the cardboard goes carpet. Las Vegas is a city of constant renovation. Casinos and hotels rip out carpeting every few years, and those rolls end up in dumpsters behind the Strip. Tunnel residents have been collecting that discarded carpet for decades. Walk through certain sections of the underground system, and you'll see wall-to-wall carpet, in surprisingly good condition, laid out flat across the tunnel floor like someone planned a proper room. In some sections, residents have spray-painted artwork across the walls. You'd walk in and forget you were standing inside a storm drain. But the carpet is just the floor. These shelters go further than you'd expect. Las Vegas throws away an astonishing amount of stuff: mattresses, bed frames, nightstands, bookshelves, couches, folding chairs. For people living underground, the casino district is basically a free furniture store. One former tunnel resident named Paul Vautrinot described being invited into an established tunnel community for the first time. The older guys living there had already been underground for close to a decade. They had a fire pit, a cooler, and a surprising amount of furniture. One tunnel section even had a makeshift living room with a couch, a coffee table, and a cooler full of cold drinks. They gave Paul a thin mattress, a bed frame, and a nightstand on his first night. So they figured out how to keep dry. But what about cold? A lot of people assume Las Vegas doesn't get cold. And during the daytime in summer, sure, temperatures can reach well above 100 degrees. But desert climates swing hard in both directions. Winter nights in Las Vegas regularly drop into the 30s, and in January, temperatures can dip below freezing. On the surface, that kind of cold is dangerous for anyone sleeping outside. Underground, though, the math changes. Concrete is a dense material, and it absorbs heat throughout the day from the surrounding earth and from the warm air that cycles through the tunnels. At night, when surface temperatures plummet, the concrete slowly releases that stored heat back into the tunnel. It's the same principle that makes basements warmer than attics in the winter. The underground temperature in these tunnels tends to hover somewhere between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, give or take, depending on depth and airflow. That's still cold enough to be uncomfortable, but it's a massive improvement over sleeping on a sidewalk in 30-degree weather with wind chill. Residents amplify that natural insulation by blocking off sections of their tunnel. Some hang heavy blankets or tarps across the tunnel opening to cut the airflow. Others stack cardboard walls to create smaller enclosed rooms within the larger tunnel. The smaller the space, the faster it warms up from body heat alone. A single person in a sealed-off area, roughly the size of a walk-in closet, can raise the air temperature by several degrees just by being there. Blankets are the other essential piece. And in Las Vegas, they are surprisingly easy to come by. Hotels cycle through linens constantly, and outreach organizations distribute sleeping bags and thermal blankets during the winter months. Some tunnel residents have accumulated stacks of 10 or 15 blankets, layered on their mattresses like a nest. When you combine the concrete's thermal mass, the wind blocking at the tunnel entrance, the layered cardboard insulation on the floor and walls, and a pile of heavy blankets in a small enclosed space, you've basically built the underground equivalent of a cabin. It's not luxurious, it's not safe from flooding, but it is warm. And for someone who spent the previous winter shivering on a park bench, it feels like an enormous upgrade. That kind of ingenuity doesn't come from a manual. It comes from people who had no other option figuring it out one winter at a time. But the physical shelter is only part of what makes these tunnels function. You can solve for water, moisture, and cold. You can lay carpet and stack furniture, but you're still living in a confined underground space with other people who are dealing with their own problems, their own trauma, their own reasons for being down there. That's where the social dynamics come in, and they're more structured than you'd expect. In the Las Vegas tunnel system, territory matters. Each section of tunnel is claimed by a specific person or group. And you don't just wander through someone else's space without permission. One resident named Andy, who lived underground with his 2 daughters, explained it clearly. You have to ask permission to go through anybody's tunnel because it is their private space. It's like their home. Some tunnel communities even have designated guards who sit near the entrance and alert residents when outsiders approach. A man named Chris took on that exact role in one tunnel near the Strip, positioning himself at the entrance to monitor who came and went. When new people show up, they're watched before they're welcomed. Trust is earned slowly down here, and for good reason. Resources get shared within these communities: food, water, batteries, clothing. People look out for each other. At least within their own section, there's a mutual protection element to it, especially for women and older residents who are more vulnerable to theft or violence. Beverly, a woman living in the tunnels with her cats, told reporters that one of her biggest fears was someone with bad intentions trying to take advantage of her. The community structure, however imperfect, provides some layer of defense against that. It's not a system anyone designed. It grew out of necessity because when you're living 30 feet underground with no police to call and no locks on your door, the only safety net you have is the people around you. Now, if you're finding this valuable, I want to mention something quickly. Many of the people living in these tunnels are veterans who served this country and came home to find the system wasn't there to catch them. In 2024, over 32,000 veterans were experiencing homelessness on a single night in America. About 4 out of every 10 of those veterans were unsheltered, meaning sleeping in cars, in parks, in abandoned buildings, or in storm drains like these. I put together a free guide called The Veteran's Blueprint. It was designed with veterans in mind, but the strategies inside work for anyone looking to save money, manage expenses, and build real financial stability. Whether you're stretching a fixed income or helping someone in your family get back on their feet, it's a practical starting point. Completely free. Link is in the description. So, these tunnel communities have their own social systems, their own rules, their own way of functioning. But none of that matters when the water comes. The monsoon season in Las Vegas typically runs from late June through mid-September. During those months, sudden storms can dump enormous amounts of water onto the valley in a very short time. And every drop of that water eventually ends up in the same drainage system where 1,500 people are living. Some residents try to track the weather on phones they charge at shelters or public outlets. Others rely on word of mouth from people closer to the tunnel entrances who can see the sky. But when a storm comes fast, there's almost no warning. 1 minute, the tunnel floor is dry. 10 to 20 minutes later, the water level has risen several feet, and it's moving fast. Fast enough to carry away mattresses, furniture, and people. Everything a person spent months building can be destroyed in the time it takes to run. In June of 2016, 3 tunnel residents drowned during a flash flood. A man known as Jazz lost his longtime girlfriend Sharon in that flood. He later went on the radio with journalist Matthew O'Brien to talk about what happened. The water came so fast that there was no time to react. Everything they owned was gone in minutes. Years of building a life underground wiped out before they could grab a single thing. The carpet, the furniture, the blankets, the photos, all of it carried downstream toward Lake Mead. And the people who survive a flood like that don't get to file an insurance claim. They start over from nothing, in the same tunnel, doing the same work all over again. O'Brien is the person most responsible for bringing the Las Vegas tunnel community to public attention. He is a journalist and a graduate of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, who first started exploring the tunnels in the early 2000s. He crawled through hundreds of miles of drainage channels with a flashlight and a tape recorder, interviewing the people he found living inside. What he found surprised him. Not just the poverty or the danger, but the level of organization. People had built real homes down there. They had daily routines, social codes, and a functioning underground economy based on barter and mutual aid. His 2007 book, Beneath the Neon, documented everything he witnessed. It was covered by more than 100 media outlets, including CNN, the BBC, the New York Times, and NPR. It even influenced storylines on television shows like CSY and Criminal Minds. But O'Brien didn't just write a book and walk away. When no outside help came for the tunnel residents, he partnered with Help of Southern Nevada and founded the Shine a Light Foundation in 2009. The organization goes into the tunnels daily. They bring food, water, socks, blankets, and basic medical supplies. They connect residents with drug counseling, housing programs, job training, and GED preparation. They don't drag anyone out. They show up, build trust, and let people make the decision to come up when they're ready. And people do come up. O'Brien's follow-up book, Dark Days, Bright Nights, published in 2020, tells the stories of 36 people who made it out of the tunnels and back into mainstream life. It's proof that the situation isn't permanent for everyone, even if it feels that way when you're living in the dark. More recently, a nonprofit called Campus for Hope broke ground on a facility in Las Vegas that will include 900 beds, along with addiction recovery services, job training, childcare, and healthcare. It is designed to be more than a temporary shelter. A lot of shelters offer a bed for the night and then send people back out in the morning with nowhere to go. Campus for Hope is built around the idea that you need more than a roof. You need a path forward. The goal is to give people a genuine pathway back to independence. But the Las Vegas tunnels are the most famous example, not the only one. In Los Angeles, city crews have been clearing homeless encampments from storm drains across the city. In one Canoga Park tunnel, people had carved out full living spaces beneath the streets, accessed through a manhole on the sidewalk. In South LA, sanitation workers nearly sealed a man inside a drain before noticing movement underground. He climbed out with a suitcase in his hand, seconds before the opening was welded shut. His name was Luis Jimenez, and he had been homeless for about 10 years. He had been living in that drain long enough to consider it home, and he almost got sealed inside it permanently. Officials in LAA said that many unhoused residents they encounter decline city services and later return to abandoned drains, digging deeper rather than seeking help. Some people choose to dig deeper into concrete storm tunnels rather than accept what is being offered. That says more about the alternatives than it does about the people making that choice. The numbers paint a bigger picture. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, overall homelessness in America rose 18% in 2024. More than 770,000 people were experiencing homelessness on a single night in January of that year. That is not a typo. Over 750,000 Americans without a permanent place to sleep. And the response has been complicated. Some cities are leaning into enforcement, clearing encampments and sealing tunnels. Concrete barriers go up over tunnel entrances. Manholes get welded shut. The idea is that if you make it impossible to live underground, people will seek services instead. Others are investing in permanent supportive housing and outreach programs, arguing that enforcement just pushes people somewhere less visible. The results are mixed. In some cases, veteran homelessness has actually been declining. The number of homeless veterans dropped nearly 8% between 2023 and 2024, down to about 32,000, the lowest number recorded since tracking began. That is encouraging, but 32,000 veterans without homes is still 32,000 too many. Meanwhile, the tunnels remain. The carpet stays laid, the mattresses stay stacked, and when the temperature drops and the wind picks up on the Las Vegas Strip, the people living 30 feet below the tourists pull their blankets a little tighter and wait for morning. One former tunnel resident put it simply. He said everyone should experience homelessness at some point because it would teach you everything about life. the value of clean water, access to electricity, the luxury of a safe bed, what you actually need to survive in this world. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. I cover stories like this every week, the hidden systems and forgotten communities that most people never see. And there's another video on screen right now that goes even deeper. Click it.